Back in October, I really wanted to create another farm-focused island, and now almost exactly 4 months later, it is actually completed. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and also welcome back to Sycamore, an island that has been the main actor of a couple of videos. And today is a very special one because the island is actually done and I can show you around and release the dream address. So this island is actually kind of a transition to fall island. That's kind of what I've been calling it because I started this on actually like the 18th or 19th of October, which is also when I now uploaded the DA because it combines my absolute favorite color, which is green, with those beautiful like farm and fall vibes. Or I guess, you know, the farm vibes are brought on more by the decorations, but just the combination of those like brownish yellow trees with the green ones, it might be one of my new favorite things. All right, and because I fell in love with that color, I kind of wanted to really bring that across in my entrance. And so I turned this one into a flower farm. You will see a whole bunch of different farm setups all throughout the island. I will try and explain every single one of them and kind of my thoughts behind it, etc. But this is basically really to drive home the vibes of this island. So I really wanted to have kind of all the different colors. I've got yellow, we've got like brown, green, of course, there's orange, there's red, and then I really like to have like wind turbines or windmills. And so, yeah, that just seemed like the perfect idea for an entrance. And so that's what we got right here. As you can see, my resident services is very close. So if you wake up in your dream, you will find a outfit basically right here. And then you just have to walk across the bridge and you are right by the entrance where there's a couple more gifts waiting for you. If you do dream of this island, by the way, there's a few gifts generally hidden throughout the area. And yeah, I hope you have fun. On that note, let me show you my map, because that is also where you can see the dream address. It's right there at the bottom, but you can also find it on my website, sparksby.com/sycamore. That will hold the DA as well as any other information needed for the island and also all of the custom designs I use on this island. So if you see anything you like, a path or a filler code or something, definitely make sure to check it out. Okay, in terms of villagers, I also wanted to have quite a few like fall themed or also maybe farm themed villagers and just kind of try and stay in that color scheme, but also just the ones that I really like. So on this island, I have Timbra, Hamlet, Bones, Poppy, Pecan, my absolute favorite villager, Flurry, Anchovy, Hazel, Rudy, and last but not least, Boomer. As you can see, there is a little bit going on the map. We've got some rivers, we've got a whole bunch of different in-game pathing patches, which is mostly like different farms, I would say. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. So from the entrance, we will actually head over here to the left, which is gonna deliver us right to resident services, like I said before, where I kind of continued the flower farm vibes. I just wanted to have an extra one in like a little bit of a different layout over here. And then from the resident services, there's basically two directions you can go into. You can either go back here, which will lead you to my own house, but we will actually go to the left-hand side. You'll see a lovely little pumpkin like set up. My story behind this is that Isabel just wants to make sure that anyone visiting immediately gets like a good view of all the produce and all the impressive things being grown on this island. So she put up this pumpkin display right behind the official building of Sycamore, I guess. And then let's head through the trees here. And I think let's go down first, which will bring us to Bones and Boomer. So Bones is here on the left, and he basically has like a wheat farm with a whole bunch of different flukes all around. I just kind of thought, you know, dog and sheep, that kind of makes sense. And I even brought this entire section out onto the beach because I actually really like the setup of like in-game dirt combined with like custom designed dirt, and then, you know, planting, but also putting a couple of items. There's a tractor, there's some silos, and of course, we can also go inside. A little note, actually, all of the interiors are completely decorated. And every time we're in an area, I'll make sure to also show you the inside. In this case, Bones just has those cozy vibes kind of continuing on the inside. I brought in some hay beds over here because, you know, that's kind of what he's growing on the outside, like hay or wheat. I'm not really sure. He also has like a workbench, and then he really likes books. I think that was actually part of his original interior that he really has like a ton of books. So I wanted to kind of bring that over. All right, let's go back outside. From here, we will of course continue over down to Boomer's place. This was actually also one that I did in a video on my channel, so you might have seen this. The story is kind of that Boomer used to have a potato farm, so he was in charge of growing potatoes, but then because he also can fly a plane and steer a boat or steer a ship, he volunteered to do all the deliveries for this island. So anything that's being grown that needs to be shipped out, or also any deliveries that need to be accepted, he was kind of like, you know, I'll do it, that's fine. And so yeah, he took on that extra task, but as you can see, it was a little bit too much, so everything is piling up now. There's a whole bunch of boxes and like lots and lots of produce piling up. There was a fruit delivery over here, which is actually set to go out next. And then we got some of the wine bottles, of course, and then his own deliveries with all the potatoes. And he's a little overwhelmed, but he's doing the best he can. And I'm sure that the other villagers will very much help him very soon. And on that note, let's also go ahead and go inside this house. And once again, those same vibes kind of continue on the inside. Lots and lots of boxes piling up. We've got like paper all over the floor. There's newspapers, there's produce. He does also have a workbench, and then I did want to give him this cozy little door going back out to kind of greet some of the sheep, I guess. And then he has like some music and just a little bit of wall decor, but basically lots and lots of chaos, let's be honest. He is an overwhelmed little penguin, and we're not going to judge him, you know? And then from Boomer's place, we will basically head back up to that incline. But before we actually go up to the incline, we'll follow this little signpost over here, which will bring us to the campsite. The campsite on Sycamore is, to be fair, a very small and cozy one, but I kind of just wanted to have it like nestled over here to the side, very secluded from everything else. There is a little campfire back here, and then as the sign earlier indicated, there's also a tiny little fishing spot right here, in case anyone is up for fishing, you know? And then I also, this is also my peninsula, which is basically a spot inspired by my very first island that I ever created or ever finished, which is Neverland. And I had this like set up with a swinging bench and just a couple of different details. And I kind of wanted to bring that back because I just really like it. And to be perfectly honest with you, these narrow peninsulas can be very hard to work with. So I just thought that was kind of a good idea. Oh, and I actually did invite Sherp to the campsite just in case anyone is interested in who is actually waiting inside. We will not go in though. Instead, we will make our way up the staircase here, which will lead us to another area that's been basically part of a video on my channel, or also actually part of a video on my second channel, because I kind of did all the detail decorating of this on my Sparksby Unwind channel. This is basically a farmer's market. So I kind of wanted to have this one area where everyone can kind of just set up the produce that they grow, or also, you know, like pickled things, sauces, like anything they make out of their produce. We've got some baked goods over here, different breads, a bagel, some pizza, all that type of stuff. There's also tiny little farms in between. Of course, more of the wine is being sold here as well. And then of course, we also have more pumpkins over here as well. So I just wanted to have this like very natural feeling, like farmer's market. The idea on this island, I mean, you know, tourists are like a different topic, but the idea for this is also basically that all the villagers just kind of exchange goods. You know, one of them might give out some pickled veggies, and then we'll get veggies again in return. So it's not really like a money trade. It's more like a goods trade, which I think is kind of cute. And then from this point, this will lead us onto the first of two land bridges. This one is a straight one, basically. The other one is like a curved one. This one just goes like straight across, very natural on both sides. Actually also very overgrown. I noticed that this tree does kind of block a lot, but it's basically supposed to be very overgrown because there's just a few ducks roaming around, you know? Some flowers, some shrubs, some wheat fields, some of my favorite things, and then tons and tons of just fillers. You also have a balloon here in the DA. I've also dropped this little foxtail in case you want to take some cute pictures. You can also go ahead and do that. And then you can already see the house that we're heading into or going over to next, which is Timbra's place. Timbra also growing a couple of pumpkins, relatively low key though, considering that the biggest pumpkin patch is by like the residence house, but she has a couple of pumpkin things all around her house. Fun fact, this was one of the last areas, and to be quite frank with you, I was running out of ideas, and so I was just like, okay, let's just do another pumpkin farm. She is currently actually sleeping. I will make sure to show you her house as well though. In my head, Timbra is a little like poet or writer. If you've ever had Timbra on your island, I mean, first of all, there's a lovely judgy facial expression, which I love. And then she also wears those glasses sometimes. Oh my God, look at her. She also wears glasses sometimes to just make her look like extra smart. Like she'd be sitting right down to write books. And so I wanted to reflect that in her interior. She's got a whole bunch of books. She's got a whole bunch of like cozy spaces to just chill and relax and read those books. And she also has this entire setup here where she can kind of look out the window, hopefully get inspired, and then write her own little adventure. And with that, let's continue the island tour. And then from Timbra's place, we will walk backwards, and you already saw a glimpse of this before, but next up we've got Anchovy's house over here. You can also go into picture mode in a couple of different spots. I will also draw a custom map that will also be on my website, and then there I will kind of mark them with little circles. You should also probably see them in today's tour though. This is basically one of them, so I wanted to have a little sunken area back here, which is Anchovy's place. He once again has another like wheat or hay farm, I guess. This time though, instead of the planted ones, even though they are also here, this is mostly with the wheat fields and also the little hay beds. And then of course there's a little bit of detail stuff all around. There's some silos, etc. This technically also continues all the way over to the beach. Just some filler decorations over here, a couple of trees, etc. I feel like my beaches are or have been like this on my last few islands. Like they're always kind of decorated, but they're usually not the most exciting thing to look at. But I just kind of want to make sure that I fill them up and finish them as well. And on that note, I would say we're also going to take a look at Anchovy's place. For Anchovy, I basically gave him a little interior inspired by one I've done before on my swamp island, and I think on a different one as well. I'm not quite sure, but I basically just wanted him to have this like big kitchen. He really likes cooking. He likes crafting. I was actually very grateful that he's the one crafting. In case you didn't know this, your crafting villager unfortunately kind of reflects on your DA. They're not actively crafting in the DA, but the workbench that they have will then also be there. And if the interior that you created for them doesn't have a workbench, they'll just replace other things. So I was happy he is the one crafting because this is supposed to be his workbench. This is, you know, where he tries different projects like that lovely little Trees Bounty Mobile that he has kind of hanging on the wall and slightly glitching into his head. But nevertheless, that's his house. And once again, let's go back outside. From Anchovy's place, we'll go back up and then we'll continue over to the right-hand side. Once again, you might be very familiar with this area actually because this was very much a video as well because this is my Nook's Cranny. Now my Nook's Cranny has a couple of different like focus spots. Of course, we've got the building itself. And then over here to the left, I basically made it like an orange and pear orchard. We'll get to an apple orchard later on, but I really wanted to include something with like orange and green. I thought that was quite cute and quite like a different sort of orchard on like a fall island. So I wanted to have that here. And then towards the front, oh, we got Rudy trying to catch some critters over here. And failing. Oh, dang it. One of these days in like a future game, maybe they'll be able to actually catch something. All right, to the front here, we also have a little picnic set up. You know, if you just want to take a little break by the river, enjoy some fresh like orange bread or also some pear pie, then you can sit down here, just enjoy the breeze. And there's also a flower farm nearby. This was, again, this was also still part of that video. So we've got a whole bunch of tulips growing here, and there's a bunch of bunnies roaming the area as well. And once again, another little spot for you to take a break back there in case you want to buy a broken radio. I'm sure that's a very chill and relaxing time. But you know, I wanted to try like a diagonal farm for the first time, and I am quite happy with how it turned out. So much so that I even brought this over onto the next cliff. So this actually just continues. It's like a very big tulip farm, but actually maybe one of my favorite areas. I'm not quite sure. It's always hard for me to actually choose, but I was quite happy with how this turned out. And this is also Rudy's place. So the idea is basically, I think a bug just jumped into the water. Oopsie. The idea is basically that Rudy has this tulip farm and, you know, he made sure that it's okay with, of course, the Nooklings, but it is just like a very big farm. And he always roams this area, to be fair. He always either walks around down here or in the forest that we're about to explore, but it's actually really, really cute. But so yeah, he's got a diagonal flower farm and he's not home right now, but once again, I will go ahead and make sure that I show you his interior as well. For Rudy's interior, I basically took inspiration from my Swamp Island Aporia. I basically also did this one for a villager with the play hobby, you know, and then I've got this little train, and then there's a few more toys in the back, but there's also some books. There's, of course, plants, and then there are some birds. There's also a workbench to make sure, you know, that someone is crafting who is supposed to be crafting. And then I also, once again, adapted this in the colors as well. And with that, let's explore the mushroom forest. Oh, and look at Rudy playing. This was worth it, wasn't it? Let's go ahead and look at the forest. And then let's head on over the bridge and go down here. Again, this was part of a video. This was actually one of the long play videos with commentary, so I made sure to kind of talk throughout it. But it's like just a very long, very chill video with me trying to figure out a whole bunch of tree spots and basically this entire mushroom forest area. This is literally, well, actually I did the museum area after this, but this was like the very last like big area that I needed to fill. And I decided to go with a mushroom forest because it just felt very right for a fall themed island to have a little mushroom forest. So we've really got this like winding path throughout, and it's very colorful. There's still a lot of flowers, etc. growing, but there's also a lot of mushrooms. There is a whole bunch of mushrooms spawning everywhere, and yeah, apart from that, it is mostly fillers, if we're being honest. But again, very happy with how it turned out, and yeah, I think it's kind of cute. And then you'll see by this bridge, there is another farm waiting for us, and this is also actually another picture spot, which I hope you can see relatively clearly. It's basically standing on these planks, and then in case you didn't know, you can do a little photo trick. You can enter your camera, press the up buttons so that you go up as much as you can, and then you'll press minus, so you'll go into first person view, and you can press the arrow button again to go even further up, press minus again so you exit, and then you can go even higher. So especially when you've got these viewing platforms like this, you will actually be able to have the building on it completely without cutting it off, and it's very, very nice. And for this one, it's very important also because it's the only way you can get this giant barn to be in one picture. Yeah, this was definitely a bit of a hassle. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did try around with a few different layouts for this, but I think it's worth it. This was one of the things I knew I wanted on this island, was like this big storefront building as like a big barn section, and I'm quite happy with how it turned out. And this is also how you can get a little bit closer to this little plateau farm right here. Basically, this is kind of, I guess, like a balcony farm in a way, with a whole bunch of sugarcane. Kind of also like how this turned out. It kind of also feels just like a little filler area, if we're being honest, because you kind of just run past it or something. But I think it still kind of adds a nice touch to it. All right, and then from here, we'll go down the staircase. And before we go down to Hamlet's place, we can actually go to the barn section and kind of access it. So over here, this you've already seen, this is the barn with another broken radio making awesome sounds. And then I've done another farm section, I feel like relatively traditional, with all the different crops here, and then a couple of the wind turbines in the back. Again, beaches, technically decorated, but really very much filler beaches, if you will, just to make it, just to make it feel a little bit more complete. And this is once again another spot where there is a picture spot available. You can kind of run to this like cliff here and then stand in front of the tree tree stump, of course. And then you can stand here and get like a decent view again of this little farm here, which I actually also am happy with how it turned out. Like the way it's framed with the wind turbines, I quite think that's cute. And then we will go to Hamlet's place. Hamlet basically has a little carrot farm over here to the side, just something low key. You know, we see his picture. He's a little kid at heart. He doesn't want to be overwhelmed, so I just gave him a tiny little carrot farm. And then over to the left, there's actually this little food setup. I think this is one of my favorite things to do in Animal Crossing, is to have the log benches with a whole bunch of different food items. I mean, they're so beautiful. And then just put a bunch of different chairs, and I always feel like that's like really good vibes. And I thought this could be like again, this could be an area where a bunch of the villagers meet up to just enjoy the vegetables they grow, etc. So I wanted to have that as well. And also, of course, let's go ahead and take a look at Hamlet's house. Hamlet also has an interior somewhat inspired by one that I did on Hokkaido, where, oh, wow, he is reading up on some interesting stuff there, where he also has a little door to go out towards the back. There, he does have a workbench, he does have a bed, and he does like toys. Like I said, I feel like he's just a kid at heart, so I wanted to give him a couple of toys to play with. And then he also has a picture of Flurry up, because on this island, for me, Flurry and Hamlet are either a couple or they're like besties. I don't know. I'm totally fine with both, but I just feel like they'd have pictures of each other, you know? It's kind of cute. Or I think at least he has a picture of her. I'm not quite sure it's the other way around as well. All right, let's continue outside, because outside, this will actually lead us to the other land bridge that I talked about, and this is the curved one. So it's a relatively wide one, but you can see kind of here that it is indeed a land bridge. On the left-hand side, you can see a little bit of a vineyard. We'll talk about that in a second. And then over here to the right-hand side, you can see a big like flower. It's not really a farm, it's just like naturally occurring flowers. That's what I thought. I wanted to keep it in like a color scheme, so it's very much orange here to the front. And then there's just a little bit of green and also some dark flowers to the back here. So I thought if I kept it in specific colors, it kind of made more sense and looked a little bit cuter. And once again, we've got some bunnies roaming the area, of course. So there is that as well. And then heading down this, curved land bridge, I'm now realizing, even though this is the area or this is the direction I chose for the DA, all of my little signposts are basically showing you the other way around. But I think it's fine. You can probably walk around in a few different ways and it's totally okay. Then, you know, just by that big flower farm over here next to the bridge, I also kind of have another flower farm here. This, truth be told, started out as a cauliflower farm, so all the mum cushions were customized to be white, but I will show you in a second why that didn't work out. But I just didn't really love it because there's something else very close by that just was too similar in a way, and so I actually changed them all to be red and yellow and then added in actual mums in white and green. And now it's just kind of a lovely flower farm. And I actually kind of like this idea. Like, I think this is actually kind of cute. Might take a note of this and use this on some of my future islands as well, because it was a very, very fun but very cutesy way to fill some space. And I think if I did this like alongside a path, like on both sides, that could be quite pretty. And of course, we've got more animals roaming the area, this time some more sheep, because I do really like them. I hope that any future Animal Crossing will also bring us some type of sheep to kind of include when decorating. All right, and then from here, I will show you why it ended up being, flowers and not the cauliflowers, because I basically have this section here, which is my Able Sisters, and my Able Sisters has a ton of white flowers because the idea behind this is that this is cotton. So this is actually a little cotton farm. It kind of can, we have a visitor on the beach that we're gonna ignore. But there's just a little bit of a laundry station on the beach there. And then I thought, because, you know, Able Sisters, fabric, etc., I just wanted to kind of make this into a cotton farm in a way, just an excuse to really plaster this entire part with white flowers. But I think it actually is kind of cute, relatively easy and minimalistic, but I don't know, still cute nonetheless. And then I made this little double like incline moment, which we will just use and go to the museum. Museum is actually very close to the incline and also relatively close to the beach. And a very important note before anyone accuses me of cheating, I got this very organically, because if you've basically got no space on your island and you plant trees as like a sapling, and then you skip like 3 days, the rocks just spawn next to your tree, because I think the sapling isn't considered a tree. Anyway, this happened to me when I decorated the mushroom forest, and I do have proof in the videos. So I hope no one's gonna accuse me of cheating, because I thought this actually ended up quite a cool coincidence, and I decided to leave it for my DA. And then I have yeah, I don't know, like a somewhat of a museum build. We've got a couple of fossils all around. And then I also wanted to grab the opportunity of doing a little bit of a museum cafe. I just think that's like generally a very sweet idea. Maybe Brewster just has a couple of outside spots as well where you can enjoy your coffee around the museum. So we've just got a few of those tables. And then once again, you know, tons of fillers. And then I also just decided to make this random little farm section here on the beach. Truth be told, these were some leftover crops I had, but I also think this turned out quite cute. And one of my favorite things to do as well on the beach is to include some of the yachts. And then you can also walk up here, but this is mostly just continuing the flower farm from like the Landbridge area that we saw before. So we will actually go ahead and head back down. I also just built up this tiny little like butterfly slash bug study over here. Just a tiny little setup to research some of those. And that's pretty much more or less the museum. But yeah, I think it's kind of like a little cute area. And then with that, we will go kind of towards the back here. But before we go down, I want to show you another picture spot because you can walk through the cotton farm, stand here on this little patch of dirt. And once again, if you do the photo trick, you can get a little bit higher up, which I think is quite useful. And this is my little squirrel neighborhood. Once again, you might have seen this. This was actually also part of a video, or this was actually a video in and of itself. We've got Poppy, Hazel, and Pecan living in this neighborhood. They all somewhat have like a different job on this island, or I guess like a different farm. So I would say let's go ahead and go downstairs to explore said farms. First of all, of course, we've got Pecan, the very fancy, I feel like you can say her name in a couple of different ways. For me, I say Pecan. And so for me, she needed to have a vineyard, which ended up being this. I decided to not go for the purple ones, as I think a lot of people do when they go for like a vineyard, because there's a lot of like custom designs that also include like purple, or there's this like grape hat. I think that kind of works. But I wanted to stay true to my island colors, so I just decided that she only does white wine for some reason, and so she only grows the green or lighter colored grapes. So I decided to go for white and green mums. And then I found this beautiful custom design with the green grapes as well. There's a whole bunch of bottles and just a whole bunch of stuff and barrels all throughout this, because of course all the grapes have to be harvested as well. And on that note, let's look at what her interior says. Of course, the bougie vibes continue on the inside. I wanted to have a little like wine bar, if you will. So they're being grown and harvested outside, and you can basically taste them on the inside. So there's a little bar section here, which Pecan seems to be enjoying herself. And then what I did, because, I've heard a few people also say that they can never really do interiors unless they're the space that the person lives in. So what I actually did, which I really kind of liked for that entire thought, is I just did this little door back here, and I made I put a shelf here, and I pretend that this is leading to an upstairs, and then upstairs that will be like her bed and everything. So yeah, we just assume she has a second level, I guess. And then I would say let's go back outside, because of course we've got two other squirrels to greet. They're both basically, Poppy is outside. Hazel seems to still be sleeping. She is a sisterly, so she likes to sleep a little bit longer, but that's totally fine. We'll still make sure to show their houses. But first, let me show you the outside areas. So Poppy over here, she actually takes care of the previously mentioned apple orchard. It's just a little area to this side. You might have also seen it very briefly when we were at Able Sisters. But yeah, so a little orchard here. She can kind of just harvest those apples, etc. And it's right by her house, which, speaking of, let's take a look inside. Now, similar to Pecan selling wine inside her house, I wanted Poppy to have a little, I guess like kitchen where she cooks jams. She has an apple orchard, so I just thought she might make some apple jam, but then she also might make some other jam or bake some pies, etc. More or less as like a hobby, but this is kind of her little interior. And then once again, we've got a little door back here, which in my head just kind of leads to her like upstairs, like bedroom, etc. as well. And with that, back to the island we go. And then of course, I already mentioned her, but let's also check out Hazel's area. So Hazel admittedly doesn't really have a job. She has a lovely little picnic though. She's got a lovely picnic that people kind of like to show up to. And then she lives kind of with her back to the mushroom forest. She enjoys a little bit of quiet time, even though she also kind of lives by a waterfall, I guess. But so Hazel just likes the chill times. But my thought then was that she kind of helps me, because in a second you'll see this is the pumpkin patch. But so she kind of just helps me along, you know, and she makes sure that everyone can just kind of relax as well. And once again, on that note, let's take a look at her interior. And then Hazel kind of continues the cozy picnic vibes on the inside as well. She of course has her own bed. She also quite likes books and writing. And then I wanted to give her this like actual like reading corner with some of the like pillars and counters. I'm not 100% certain. I love, you know, the transition of where the counters kind of end, but it's kind of a cute idea. So I just wanted to give her all of those books and little cozy details, some magazines, and of course plants, because every single one of my interior has to have plants, of course. Speaking of plants, let's look at the next part of my island. And then on to the previously mentioned pumpkin patch, which was once again part of a video. This was another one of those commentary long play ones, actually the first one I ever tried. So thank you again, everyone, for the support on that one. And I just knew I wanted to have a big pumpkin patch for my own house, because I just feel like they're the thing to use when you're doing like a fall and farm island. And I specifically used all the different colors, and then there's a bunch of different like randomly shaped patches, I guess. The biggest one is basically right here, which is also once again where you can kind of climb up to a picture spot right here. If you visit this island in a DA, by the way, there's no ladder or anything dropped, because every time I want you to climb up somewhere, you will be able to. And if you're not supposed to, then yeah, it's not necessarily going to be possible. But so here we go. This is the pumpkin patch. We also do already spot another house on the left there. That is where Flurry lives. Flurry is basically my Animal Crossing bestie. She's my favorite villager like ever, because she's a very cute little squishy hamster. I almost said squirrel there, but no, she's a squishy little hamster, and she lives kind of right next to my house, which actually, let's go to her house first. So because of her sweater, I kind of got the idea of giving her a little tomato farm. So I made her house kind of fit that entire vibe, and then put a lot of tomatoes up here. And she also lives very close to the Landbridge that we saw earlier with all the ducks roaming around. And once again, this is another little photo spot, so you can climb up here and then go into picture mode. And if you want to, you can do the little trick that I talked about earlier, and you can get even higher up, get almost all the trees on there. And then she just kind of, you know, she's surrounded by trees and cliffs and everything. And there is a lovely, well, hopefully lovely tomato farm right in front of her house. And again, on that note, let's also take a look at her interior. Oh, and look at that. Flurry has visit from Boomer at the minute. All right, so for Flurry, I basically kind of recreated an interior that I did for her on my swampy island. So the setup for this entire room is basically the same. She's got her bed in the back right corner, and then this shelving unit, and then some seats here, some rock and footrest to kind of sit down. And then she kind of likes sewing, so I gave her a few sewing materials, and I also made sure to give her a workbench. And actually, I did not put Hamlet's picture up. That is a bit of a crime. But maybe, you know, maybe she's just not the picture type of person, like the people picture type of person. You know what I'm saying? And also, yeah, I've been absolutely obsessed with this combination for the bed, like the wood partition with like the log furniture. Like, how good of a color match is that? Anyway, quite happy with that. Let's go back to the island. And then we've just got more or less one more thing to check out, which actually is my very own house. So let's take a look. I have admittedly not decorated all the houses. You might already see this when you see my main room, because I have sneakily blocked off a couple of them. You can go to the right-hand side, but then I kind of made this much, much smaller with a whole bunch of, you know, wooden pillars and partition walls. Yeah, I use Treasure Islands, by the way, just a little disclaimer. So I was able to pick all this stuff up from Treasure Islands. It still required a few trips, I'm not gonna lie. But basically, I wanted to have my main room just be kind of like a drop-off zone in a way. There is a cozy little reading corner. I made sure to keep one of the original boxes. So this is kind of just, you know, where I like to read sometimes. But then apart from that, you know, there's a bunch of pumpkin-related things over here, and just, you know, random papers, and then my keys, and then like a sandwich, etc. So just a couple of random things. And let's take a look at the next room. This one is actually an under construction room. It reminds me a little bit of a room I did on my green like city island Verdant, because it basically just uses like the same like wallpaper. But the thought was, this is still being built out. 100% honesty here. I didn't know what else to put here, and so I was like, oh, what if I just do a room that's like basically under renovation? And so I just kind of layered a whole bunch of things that might kind of make sense for that. And I actually am quite happy with how this turned out. And this one is my upstairs room. In case you're watching my Let's Play here on YouTube, you might be like, wait, this looks familiar. This is actually a replica of my Let's Play interior that I did. So basically my upstairs room that I did on Callan, which is like a romantic coastal retreat. So very different color scheme, but I basically copied the layout from that one because I kind of liked it and just adapted it in the color. So instead of the white and blue and pink that we've got there, we have tons and tons of wood colors, and then also of course some green, some red, some yellow, and then over here also my bedroom wall, which doesn't have as much of an impressive like window wall, but still kind of cute, I think, with this little window right there. Of course, a space heater because it can get cold at the start of fall. And I don't know. I do think this is kind of a cute layout though, so I wanted to bring that over. And now let me show you the basement, last but not least. The basement, I have to say, I really hope there's still a few people hanging out because I'm actually a little proud of the basement. So I kind of had the idea, what if there's also some indoor farms? Like, what if I also just grow some stuff with like artificial light? And so what I did to kind of quickly explain the floor situation is I basically put this floor in as my main floor, and then all these tiles around it, all of those are individual tiny little rugs. Again, I used Treasure Islands, but that was fun. That was fun to pick up and put down. But so I was kind of able to create this like little soil moment here with the pillars and then also the counters. And then I put a bunch of pumpkins. As soon as you switch them to the other side, you see a lot of faces. Don't know if you want to do that. But so there's, different pumpkins growing. And because they're grown under artificial light, they're also very giant pumpkins, but we're not going to question it. We also store a bunch of soil over here, some barrels, etc. And then my idea was also to have a little kitchen where I kind of try out to pickle some of the veggies, maybe like pickled pumpkin. I make sauces, I make maybe jams, all this type of stuff. And I don't know, I'm actually kind of happy with this basement. This is the first time I ever made something kind of like this, and I kind of just like the idea, I think. And that is also more or less the island. I've basically shown you all around. You've seen all the different villagers and villager homes at this point. You've seen a whole bunch of different farms, a whole bunch of colors and produce and flowers, etc., etc. And I'm actually so happy about this island. I've gotten like such lovely feedback from you all already on like previous videos that I've done about this island. So I hope you all like the finished results. I did quite a lot of the stuff off stream or off video. So a few things I don't think I've ever really shown before either. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this. If you decide to dream of this island yourself and you share any pictures, I would love to see them, so feel free to tag me. I'm on Instagram and Twitter as _Sparksby, and I just hope you have a lovely time dreaming of this island if you do so. If not, I do hope that you enjoyed this video. Do please make sure to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe so that you don't miss any new islands starting very soon. I can't believe it. I'm like about to finish 2 of my islands at the same time. So I feel like there are some very exciting new things coming. So make sure that you're subscribed. And then thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed both the island and of course the tour as well. And then I hope that I see you in another video very, very soon. Bye everyone.